Can you turn that off a minute, sir? Can you actually show them the way we did it back in the 70s?
So basically what you're saying to me is to lose the computer.
Lose the laptop.
Yes.
Lose all the extras. Like, take away the extras. And let's go back to the basics. 2 turntables, a mixer, and some wax. How's that? You feel like doing that right now?
First things first, let me just start with, like I was telling you earlier, when I wanted to take that drum section and extend it with duplicate copies of records, there was a procedure that I had to go through. The stylus is in two classes, let's put it this way. There's let's go to the board. 2 classes of styluses.
Stylus is a needle, people.
It's the needle. One was called the elliptical. The other was called the conical. Now, the elliptical, when you look at it under a microscope, is built like a backwards J, right? And the conical was built like a nail. My quest was, while the platter was spinning clockwise, I had to have a needle that would stay inside the groove while I went counterclockwise. And although the width of the elliptical needle inside the groove was further from left to right, which meant the stereo spectrum overall would sound better, when I pulled the needle back, it kept sliding out of the groove. The conical, when that sat in the groove, although it sounded horrible, when I counterclockwise the vinyl while the platter was going clockwise, it hung inside the groove. That part was figured out. The next thing was, when you buy a turntable, you get this ugly piece of rubber. You know what I'm talking about, that big,
Of course, the rubber platter that comes with the turntable, yes.
That ugly pancake thing. So when I tried to put the record on it, I got too much drag, too much friction. So what I did was, my mother was a seamstress, God bless her dead. So I knew what polyester, silk, rayon, I knew all the materials because my mom made all our clothes. So I went to the material store and I started feeling all these different materials. And when I got to felt, I touched it and I put it on my fingertips, but the problem with felt was, if you have a piece of it, it's very limp. So what I did was I ran home and I got a copy of an album and I bought 2 pieces of the felt. And when my mother wasn't looking, I spray starched the felt until it became stiff. I called it a wafer. And the reason why I called it a wafer was because, communion, when you go to church during Easter and you're online and you're going to the pastor and it gives you that little white thing that you got to eat, it's called a wafer. So that's what I called it. And then my mom's, whenever, I had good grades, she used to bake cookies for us. So there was that wax paper that she used to use. So I cut out 2 pieces of that, and maybe 35 years later, they called it slip mat. I called it the wafer. That problem was solved. So now, the other situation was the picking of the turntable. So I came up with something called the torque theory. Torque theory is when the platter is in a state of inertia, which is absolutely still, is I would put a pen. Matter of fact, I'm gonna hold that off until later. We're gonna talk about that. I'll put a pen or whatever, and if that platter from the state of inertia was not at its fullest potential in a quarter of a turn, it was a horrible turntable. So there was turntables like I went through Fisher-Price, Magnavox, early Thorens, early Pioneer, and it wasn't until I went to Vicmar on Hunts Point. So I went into the store and I told the salesperson, can you please pull that? There was this ugly gray looking turntable and it had like the mumps on the outside of it. And I says, is it possible, could you please pull that turntable out of the window so that I can check something? I'm doing a science on turntable. So the salesman looked at me and said, what? So I repeated, can you please pull it out the window? I just want to feel the platter. He says, hold up, I'll be right back. And when he came back, he had 3 more salesmen and they were kind of surrounding me because they thought something was going to go down. I says, no, I'm doing some studies. So the salesman that I was conversing with says, let me go get somebody else. And what he did is he got the boss. His name was Victor. And I says to Victor, I'm doing a study on turntables. Would it be possible, can you please take that turntable out of the window? And I just want to just test something. He says, son, you look innocent enough. Sure. And when he pulled it out and he put it on the turntable, pulled the turntable on the table, Ebro, there was a little sticker on it. I had never heard of this turntable before. It was this turntable called Technics. And the model number was SL23. It was a belt-driven turntable. And when I put a pen on it from the state of inertia, it went to full speed in a quarter of a turn. So a horrible turntable will take a full turn before it's up to speed. So if I put the wafer on the platter and then the record on the wafer and try to go counterclockwise and let the record go, it would go. So that turntable didn't pass the test. So the Technics turntable passed the test. So those 3 things were solved. Then it was a problem of me being able to pre-hear the song in my ear before you could. So I remember when I was a kid, or if you're the kid and there's an adult in front of you and they want to play with you, they go, peekaboo, peekaboo. And so I use that as my title for what is called cueing, but I called it the peekaboo system. So the peekaboo system was this. I went to Radio Shack and I bought what is called a single pole double throw switch. Single pole double throw switch is this. When you activate it to the left, whatever is wired to that particular side of the switch will become active in your ear. And if you push it that way, vice versa. So what I did was I took the jack of the turntable and I cut it. And I put a 3rd jack on it, a 3rd wire, and I ran that wire through the left side of the switch so that when I click it over to the left, I'll hear it and you won't. And I did it to the right side as well. And then the output of the single pole double throw switch, I ran that to a small 8-10 watt amplifier, just enough to drive the headphone. So that when I was playing those super short beats that I was talking to you about, Ebro, that 10 seconds, now I can do this for 10 minutes.